Hello and welcome to Between the Lines. Coming up on today's show, we talk with the Kutztown Wrestling team. Steve Weiss and I sit down and discuss what happened over the weekend with KU Sports, take a look at the top plays from KU Sports this week, and finally spotlight a KU athlete. Stay tuned. Welcome to Inside the Locker Room. I'm your host, Hunter Valky. Joining me today is Connor Rogovich of the Kutztown Wrestling team. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
You're welcome.
So far this season, the wrestling season is finally here. What are you guys looking forward to this season?
I'm looking forward to some new names getting in the lineup. We got some young talent that last year we were kind of like hammer heavy. Like we had a bunch of big guys in the lineup, a bunch of seniors, previous All-Americans. But I think this team has a lot more like camaraderie, and I'm interested to see how young guys can help us to achieve the goals that we achieved last year and hopefully better than that. So
Now, what are some of your goals that you have personally set this year?
Personally set, I think I would like this team to be a top 5 team in the country, as well as my goal has always been to be an All-American, but obviously I have national champion aspirations, but definitely to get that top 8 in the country would be the biggest goal of mine individually.
Now, has the team set any goals as a group together?
Yeah, I mean, coming off our first PSAC championship last year, obviously that would be something that we'd love to repeat again. You know, there's some tough teams in the PSAC, like the #1 ranked team, but we have that dual marked on our calendar always, and that's always going to be a battle no matter what the rankings are. So maybe take off UPJ on our way to another PSAC championship, as well as a region championship. We took second in a close race with that last year. And I think we'd like to be a trophy team at Nationals this year, so top 5 teams.
So now on Sunday, November 10th, you guys traveled to East Stroudsburg for the season opener. How did that matchup go?
Matchup went great. You know, we had a lot of young guys, first time wrestling in college, wrestling that longer periods like they're not used to, and all of them battled like warriors, as well as upperclassmen and guys we needed to step up did step up. You know, we had 2 years in a row, we've had an ESU champion with Chad Hagley last year, and this year we had Andrew Dunn. So that's always good to get the individual champions, get our name out there, recognized. But I really liked how the team, we bring a lot of energy and support. If you ever noticed, like in the gym Saturday, Sunday, it's early, you got to be there at 5 a.m. to wrestle, weigh in. A lot of guys kind of fizzle out energy, but every time you see a guy with a Kutztown Wrestling singlet out there, you see mob of 20 to 25 kids cheering them on, which is just, it's a nice add-on. It's something you don't see as often when you get into college.
Yeah, but keeps up your camaraderie with each other and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, coming into this season, what kind of prep did you do before the season to make yourself better than you were last year?
I actually got into an open college training room about 3 times a week with some fellow guys I'm from South Jersey, so good mix there between Ryder, Rutgers, Lehigh guys coming in. And we all just met up in this open college room ran by a previous Ryder wrestler, Mauro Carenti. So that was just like iron sharpening iron there. We got top guys going against top guys, as well as just about a 4-day-a-week lifting program. Obviously, you always want to get stronger, just getting better cardiovascular shape, running and stuff like that. So nothing too out of the norm from a regular training, but just staying more consistent with it and not taking a week off here for vacation, making sure I get that workout in on vacation, stuff like that, just the little things.
So now that you guys are in season, what does your daily routine look like for practice schedule and stuff like that?
We start practice at around 4:30, start with a nice 15, 20-minute warm-up into about like 10 minutes of wrestling on your own, so getting used to it. And then we'll usually go into about a 30-minute either live wrestling, which is just going all out, not watching out, either that, or we'll go into like a real fast-paced drill or something you want to get the lungs burning early and stuff like that, so that when you get out there on the mat and you're feeling tired, it's not the first time. We can look back in the room and say, hey, we've done this for 45 minutes straight. What's 7 minutes out on the mat, you know? It's only a fraction of what we really do behind the scenes.
Now, one of the biggest challenges during the wrestling season is weight management. How difficult is it for you to rise, drop, or stay the same weight throughout the whole season?
You know, it's always harder for the first tournament, like this past weekend, and even the first duel after that. But once you get that weight down, we try to like emphasize on not ballooning up, because that's a challenge in itself, let alone the match you wrestle out there. There's a battle within on making the weight, and if you're cutting a lot of weight, making it the right way, because you know you only got 1 hour to hydrate after weigh-ins and stuff like that. So our coach just really emphasizes consistency, and in the wrestling we do, and the hard work in the classroom, and especially in the dieting, if you just keep a consistent diet, the weight cut gets easier and easier as the year goes on.
Do you think it's harder to lose weight and keep weight on based off of being at college now? You're on your own and everything like that. You're cooking for yourself most of the times and things like that, and not having that structure at your house. Is it harder or easier now?
Most definitely a little harder. My freshman year, I can remember, it was definitely a little harder with eating in the cafeteria. And basically anything you want to eat, you can eat. And thanks to South for wrestlers love a nice 24-hour place, so that helps us can go there whenever. But it also kind of, by now that I'm in my senior year, I've taught me discipline and a lot of stuff that I'm obviously going to use as I go on with keeping a regimen with what I eat. But once you get used to it, I mean, I go to the grocery store and buy the same things every time just about. So I'm used to a routine, but definitely it was a little hard with that first couple of years transitioning, even sophomore year too. Just like first starting to cook for yourself, and you know, you go to the grocery store, you see the things that you want to eat.
You just buy them all, do whatever you want, just spend a load of money.
Key's not going to the grocery store hungry. Go on a full stomach. That's a little cheat.
So now, during the season, what's one food group or a snack that you have to cut out that you usually like to enjoy?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. No ice cream for you.
I'm huge on the ice cream, but I will, after a weigh-in or a match or a tournament, I make sure to go to Pops straight after. That's I always do one treat after a match or something like that, so I'll always go to Pops to get that one vice in.
Now, you mentioned before, you said last year you guys are very heavy. You guys are also a bigger team this year again, too. Do you ever in practice have to go up against the bigger guys? Is that a struggle for you to do or anything like that in practice?
Time to time, I do find myself going with the bigger guys, and obviously in some aspects it's a struggle, but I like it too because it also helps your wrestling. Like, it's good to go with lighter guys your weight, even the heavier guys too, because obviously the heavier guys are stronger, so you get a better feel for where you gotta be in the match, and places also helps you point out places that you're weaker too. If you notice a certain position, you're like, man, I can get it on these lighter guys, but when I go up against these bigger guys, it's just not working for me. That can really help you emphasize a part in your core that you need to strengthen or something like that. And it's also always good to just get different feels, because in wrestling, every single person you go against is going to give somewhat of a different feel. No one's that exact the same wrestler.
Now, Wednesday, November 20th, you guys take on Millersville at Kutztown Arena. What are you looking forward to in this matchup?
I'm just looking forward to starting the dual meet season. I mean, tournaments are always fun. We love them. But where our team really shines is dual meets, because that's when everybody's watching out you, one guy out there wrestling, and that's when, like, team energy can really affect if you're going to push it out that last 30 seconds and get the last takedown. When you look over to the bench, at least I feel when I look over to the bench, I see 20 guys sitting down that go and risk everything in the wrestling room just like I would. So you kind of like get a little emphasis on there and do it for them as well as just for your individual goals. And definitely just looking to the home crowd, filling up that. I think we can get fill the crowd a lot better than we have past years, because we've kind of made like a name for ourselves, solidified ourselves as like one of the top programs at Kutztown.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Once again, I would like to thank my guest, Connor Rogovich of the men's wrestling team, and we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Want some new KU merch? Keep your eyes on the ball. Every Monday after a home football game, you get an additional 5% off all Kutztown apparel at the KU campus store for every touchdown we score, starting at 15%. Win or lose. That's 15, 20, 25, all the way up to 40% off all Kutztown apparel. The sale can be used in-store or on the website, kubstore.com.
Hello and welcome to this week's segment of Between the Lines. I'm your host, Louis Mataboni. Today we will be showcasing our top plays of this recent sporting events. Let's take a look.
Number 5. Here we have some of Kutztown's field hockey action as Rachel Dusman scores a goal here. Number 4. Izzy Riddell with a fantastic goal that slips right past IUP's goalie. Number 3. Quarterback Colin DeGabo with a solid rainbow right over the defensive line's head to number 16, Jake Novak, advancing him to the 10-yard line. Number 2. Okay, and here we got Colin DeGabo with the handoff to number 25, Nick Palmer, who goes for about a 35-yard drive, unfortunately to be tackled at the 20-yard line. And last but not least, number 1. Kutztown with some really spectacular defense here, blocking a pass that could have very well led to a potential touchdown for Millersville.
And that wraps up this week's segment of Top Plays. I'm your host, Louis Mataboni, signing off. Stay classy, Kutztown.
Love KU sports but can't keep up with the games at work? Well, look no further. KU TV posts live updates on your favorite Kutztown sports to the KU TV Sports Twitter page. Even catch a live halftime show featuring Mike Iannacci, Tyler Trumbauer, and Josh Mastromato. Never miss a game again. Stay updated through either watching KU TV when we go live for games or through the Twitter page KU TV Sports.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Weekend Update. I'm your host, Steven Weiss, along with Hunter Velicki. Hunter, if I told you that this past weekend was jam-packed with KU sports action, would you believe me?
That is a 100%. I would believe that any day of the week.
Wow. Well, let's jump right into it with football. History was made Saturday afternoon at Andre Reed Stadium when number 15 Kutztown racked up 517 yards of total offense and forced 4 turnovers to improve to 10-0 for the first time in 104 seasons of Golden Bear football by defeating Millersville 37-17.
Having already clinched the PSAC East title division last week at the win at Westchester, head coach Jim Clements was afforded an opportunity to allow a few key contributors chances to rest up ahead of next Saturday's PSAC championship game against nationally ranked Slippery Rock.
Yeah, so even though those starters did sit, the backups came in and performed just as well. Redshirt junior quarterback Eric Nickel got the start behind center in place of Colin DeGalbo and took advantage of his chances with 205 yards passing, 57 yards rushing, and 3 total touchdowns.
Running backs Darrell Davis McNeil and Keegan Hargan both put up career-high rushing totals, with Davis McNeil gaining 88 rushing yards on 11 carries and Harvin 70 on 9 as Kutztown registered 300-plus yards of rushing for the 3rd time this season.
The Golden Bears would steadily build to a 24-10 lead by the half. Nickel scored on a 7-yard keeper midway through the first. David Burns drilled his first career field goal from 25 yards out to start the second, and wide receiver turned passer Jerry Catt found Diego Torres for a 5-yard touchdown with under 2 minutes left in the half.
KU's nationally renowned rushing defense, which came into Saturdays ranked 17 in the NCAA Division II with just 92.9 yards allowed per game, held true to form. Millersville gained just 79 yards on 30 attempts, the 7th time this season an opponent has failed to crack the century mark against the Golden Bears. Kutztown outgained the Marauders 517 to 184 and ran for 307 yards.
An impressive performance, and defensively, cornerback Akee Cox-Cohen took sole possession of Kutztown's all-time pass breakups record with a pair for the 48th and 49th of his career.
Christian Wilkerson had a team-high 6 tackles and was in on 1 sack with Hens Tehran and finished with 1.5 tackles for loss. Nigel Wilson tallied 2 tackles for loss and a sack, and Mason Peace came up with his first career interception.
Saturday's win gives Kutztown double-digit victories for just the 3rd time in program history. The 2019 Golden Bears surpassed the 2010 team, which held the previous best start of any KU team at 9-0. So now opening this up, they've got a huge game coming up, obviously the biggest of the season. 2 undefeated teams facing Slippery Rock this Saturday. How do they prepare for this game?
I think they prepare like they did every single week. They've been taking it 1 week at a time, it seems like, and doing that again this is the most important game of the season so far for them, and they just need to come out and perform like they've been doing all year, and they just need to remember what they did all year, pretty much is it, and then just keep continuing that, and that's all they have to do really.
Yeah.
And go out and play their game.
Yeah, and I think just another game, like you said. I mean, you can't look at the opponent as this 10-0 team. They're just another football team. You're both, it's 1-0 every week. That's what you're trying to be, and I think that KU is going to be able to pull through.
You got to look at it pretty much of just like you're both even teams right now. It's an even matchup across the board. Whatever your record was during the regular season, it's done now. This is what's important now. Getting this next win here is all that is.
Exactly. Number 13 Kutztown and number 8 Slippery Rock will meet on University Field at Andre Reed Stadium with the PSAC championship game on the line this coming Saturday, November 16th. Kickoff has officially been set for 12:05 p.m. The Golden Bears and the Rock sport matching 10-0 records coming into a game that will decide not only the conference title, but will almost certainly secure the top seed in Super Region 1 ahead of the NCAA Division II championship. The Super Region's top seed will earn a first-round bye. So a lot on the line here in this game. So if you cannot make it out to Andre Reed Stadium, make sure you tune in live on KU TV for that game. So keeping things moving here, let's jump into women's field hockey. 2 games this past week, 2 very important games. First, the semifinal game versus Westchester. Senior Mackenzie Furman's ripped a shot that not only hit the back of the cage, but also sent the 4-seeded Kutztown University field hockey team to a 3-2 overtime win at top seed Westchester last Friday afternoon in a PSAC conference semifinal game.
The Kutztown offense, led by all PSAC first team Furman's goal and third team Alyssa Donato's 2 tallies, scored the most goals against the Golden Rams, 18-1 this season, defense in the season, also giving them their first defeat of the year.
Yeah, that 18-1 record. I mean, they were 18-0 coming into that game, but KU giving them that first loss. So a huge game. It is the first win for Kutztown at Westchester since October 13th, 2015, and it's snapped a 25-game winning home streak for Westchester dating back to October 5th of 2017. It's the second straight season KU has beaten a top-ranked Golden Rams squad.
Roselli, an all-PSAC second-teamer, had her hand in 2 of the 3 goals and now has 6 assists this season, tied for 8th best in the conference. Senior Molly Bobjack also contributed on an assist to Furman in the game winner and now has 7 assists, which ranks 7th in the PSAC.
The Maroon and Gold won a penalty corner with a little over 2 into the overtime period. Roselli passed the ball across to the top of the circle where it was stopped, then passed over to Furman, who ripped a one-timer that snuck by a few players and into the back of the cage as KU's rushed the field in celebration.
We knew if we capitalized on this corner, we'd win, so it was important and we were excited about our plan, said Furman. Leah sent it into Molly, and then I one-timed it in with her and went in. It was a great setup.
And then the second game here, we have the championship game versus East Stroudsburg. The nationally ranked and 4-seed Kutztown University field hockey team battled for 60 hard minutes and was neck and neck with the second seed East Stroudsburg University for the entirety of the game. But ESU had one shot fall its way and edged KU 1-0 Sunday afternoon in the PSAC championship game at Westchester University's Vonnie Groves Field.
Kutztown has a lot to look forward to and a lot to hang its hat up on at this point of the season. KU reached the PSAC final for just the second time in program history and won a postseason game for the first time since 1988 when it took down Mansfield last Tuesday night. The 14 wins thus far also tied for the most wins by the program in the season since 2007.
So a big win in the semifinal game here, but unfortunately that loss in the championship game. But you know they're getting to continue that season. So how do you sort of adjust to that, do you think?
It sucks that they lost and all that, but it's you have to look forward to it. You have to keep moving on. They know they have more games coming up, and they can just go out there again and prove it some more, and hopefully maybe come back with a bigger championship in the end.
Yeah, and I think, winning that Westchester game was huge. I mean, that team was undefeated. They had beat Westchester had beaten them just the week prior in a very close game. So getting to edge out Westchester in an incredibly close game, I think you should use that and use the positivity from that game to sort of leap forward into the upcoming games. Kutztown and East Stroudsburg were even in total shots, 8-8, but the Warriors had one fall through, and that was all they needed. Mackenzie Furman and Kyra Wozniak led the Maroon and Gold with 3 shots each. ESU had a 5-4 advantage in penalty corners.
The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference runners-up in nationally ranked Kutztown University field hockey will see its 2019 season continue as it's earned a bid into the NCAA tournament beginning this Saturday, November 16th.
The Golden Bears, who are 14-6 overall, received the number 5 seed and will travel to the state of New Hampshire to take on the number 4 seed Southern New Hampshire University on Saturday at a team. The team will still be determined here.
Westchester, a team that received its only loss of the season to KU in the PSAC semifinals last Friday, is in the top seed. St. Anselm in the 2nd seed and the 2nd team to have a bye into the semifinals round. PSAC champion East Stroudsburg is in the 3rd seed, and Assumption is the 6th seed in a round out on the field. The winners of the Kutztown Southern New Hampshire will take on the Golden Rams the following weekend.
Yeah, so they might get a 3rd opportunity to face Westchester here. But keeping things moving here, let's jump into men's basketball, who started off their season this past week. 2 games, 1 versus Lincoln. The 2 new faces delivered for the Kutztown University men's basketball team as it started off the 2019 and 2020 campaign with a victory, defeating Lincoln University 79-73 Friday night at Westchester University in a non-conference game.
Redshirt junior Taraji Brake, a transfer from Lock Haven, and freshman Wesley Butler, local product from Reading, had a huge night in their Golden Bears 1-0 debut.
Butler led all scorers with 23 points, including 7 of 10 from long range, and Brake was right behind, adding 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 steals as KU won its season opener for the 5th straight season.
Senior captain Josh Townsend also reached double figures, dropping 11 points and bringing in 6 rebounds along with 2 blocks and 2 steals. Junior Facundo Aarons tallied 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 33 minutes of action, while senior transfer Ryan Bernstein, donning the maroon and gold for the first time, contributed 6 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists. The fifth starter, sophomore Laquan Granberry, recorded 5 points and 3 rebounds.
Then they also had a game versus Claflin, but unfortunately they lost that game 94-77. But, you know, this team has a history of being very good. Last season they had a tough year, but I think that if they stay consistent this season, I think they're going to be successful.
I believe that too. They just need to take it one game at a time here. Start of the season, it's a long season for basketball. They just need to play with their heads up and play good games every week.
Yeah, and I think this team definitely does have a lot of talent. You know, there's a lot of newcomers here, so I think, you know, adjusting them into the system, the KU system, I think is going to bode well, and I think this team's going to have a very successful season. All right, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you today on this week's edition of Weekend Update. Stay tuned for more Between the Lines.
It's on us to take responsibility for our actions and our inaction.
To do something to get in the way of a sexual assault.
To keep an eye on someone in a vulnerable situation.
It's on us to never blame the victim.
To take reports of sexual assault seriously.
It's on us to hold our friends accountable.
It's on us, all of us, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you can too, at itsonus.org.
My name is Andrew Dunn Jr. I come from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, nearby Lehigh Valley. I'm a senior on the wrestling team. I wrestle the heavyweight class. I'm the returning NCAA champion at heavyweight. Professional and Olympic wrestlers I look up to. It's funny, I actually started wrestling because of professional wrestling. Wrestlers like John Cena, Kurt Angle, who was also a great Olympic wrestler as well, Olympic champion. Currently, I look up to guys like Kyle Snyder, who's Olympic champion, world champion, Jordan Burroughs, Kyle Dake, guys like that who've been winning world Olympic titles for the United States. Favorite WWE wrestler? I'll have to say John Cena. I used to get a lot of comparisons to him. People used to say I looked like him, so I thought that was a great compliment. If I couldn't wrestle, I would probably have played football. Football was always my first love, my first sport. I started wrestling and playing football around the same time, probably like 8 years old. I excelled in football first, and I always thought I would play football. My dad played college football, but I ended up kind of doing my own thing and going off with wrestling, and it's worked out pretty well. I was recruited here, so I wrestled at Bethlehem Catholic in high school, one of the top premier wrestling programs in the country. I went on to wrestle at Virginia Tech first, top 5 Division I program, did pretty well there. I was a national qualifier at the Division I level. and just needed to change. Wanted to be closer to home and had some things up here that I wanted to take care of, and an opportunity was gifted for me here at Kutztown by Coach Fisher and the athletic department, so jumped on it, and you know, it's been great so far. I have nothing but positives that have come away from it. Team took top 10 in the country last year, and I was able to win my first national championship, so just looking to build on that this year. Wrestling is wrestling at the end of the day. I like things about both. I liked Virginia Tech for certain reasons. I definitely missed the dining halls there. They were top ranked in the country, so I was eating steak and lobster on the meal plan whenever I wanted. But I like the small town of Kutztown. I like the close-knit dynamic. I really enjoy my new team as much as I miss my old teammates and coaches and things like that. I really enjoy my new team and just the progress we've been able to make through 1 year and just the things we've been able to accomplish together. I would say my favorite wrestling moment would probably be winning the Nationals this past year in Cleveland, winning the national championship. That was a big deal for me just because it was what I set out to do when I transferred here. I told myself if I was going to transfer to Kutztown and start something new, a new journey, and help lead a new team, that I was gonna win the national championship and end on top, and I was happy I was able to do that. But a close second would be my state championship in high school. That was a big moment. It took a lot of years to make that happen. Winning a national championship is it's a great feeling. It's just a feeling of partially fulfillment, but also just it makes you feel good to know that the work you put in over a set amount of time and really up to your whole life at that point paid off, and there was a lot of sacrifices made on other people's parts, my parents, my family, close friends, teams, coaches, all around from the time I was in high school till right now at this point. They all played a part into winning that national championship. So just being able to make those people proud while fulfilling something that I wanted to do, that's a special feeling. So it's funny, I have a routine. When I was younger, I used to listen to just like ramped up music all the time, like whether it was like hip hop, rap, heavy metal. I would be listening to them for hours before my competition even. Now I try to keep it mellow. I'll actually listen to like piano music and very slow music about an hour out from my matches, and then when it gets to about 30 minutes out from a match, if I can know when the time of the match is gonna be, that's when I'll start ramping it up, and I like listening to like hard hip hop or heavy metal, something that gets me really fired up, in the zone, ready to compete, ready to go out and do my job as hard as I can for the time frame, as long as it takes. Well, it's emotional. It's an emotional thing. Emotional energy is just as important in a sport like wrestling because it's just you out there. So there's a lot of factors that play into targeting your emotional energy and knowing how to control it. And I think that listening to calming music kind of puts you in a very calm state, which is where you should be at a certain point. And then when it's time to get fired up and go compete as hard as you can and push yourself as hard as you can, it feels good to kind of like take out the earplugs to something that has you in at that state and then go compete. So it's all about energy with me. My first goal is to be a wrestling coach. I've had a lot of great coaches in life that have redirected my life and drawn me into wrestling, and wrestling's helped change me in a lot of ways. And I think I have a lot to offer the younger generations in terms of wrestling. And so coaching would be my first goal, but if not, I could see myself in restaurant management, business management. I work at a pretty nice restaurant right now. I definitely could see myself in that setting one day. One of my least favorite moments in wrestling would definitely be in high school. I lost in the state semifinals twice. So my sophomore and junior year, I made the state semifinals of the state tournament twice, lost both times before finally winning my senior year. So those were some of the lowest points in my wrestling career. And then at the collegiate level, coming out of high school as like a top-ranked recruit, I had a really bad shoulder injury after my first season. Tore my labrum, rotator cuff, partially tore my bicep tendon. So just recovering from that. That was difficult because wrestling was something that I really enjoy doing. it's one of the things I'm good at. I like to think it's one of the things I'm best at. So not being able to do that and just continue to progress and get better because I had to take care of an injury, have a major surgery, and focus on rehab. That was really difficult for me. I didn't do the best job at adjusting to that at first, honestly speaking, but it's part of the process like anything, and I believe that there's a greater plan for me. So that was all part of what has gotten me to this point and stayed solid and made it through. But yeah, that was definitely a low point. In my free time, I like to spend time with friends, talk to family on the phone, big on music and movies. Not as much TV shows because I don't really have the attention for TV shows, but I love watching movies. Some of my favorite directors are like Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, so I like watching those kind of movies. Movies with good plots, good stories, and my favorite movie is Pulp Fiction. So, and then I love listening to music too. I'm really tapped into music, and I was brought up on all types of music. But yeah, I'm pretty tapped into music, and that's pretty much where, when I'm away from the mat, I try to just either disconnect with music or writing, and then watching movies, or I'm just still watching wrestling, trying to get better. I'm watching the best guys at the Olympic level or at the college level, just trying to watch what they do, see if I can incorporate it into my wrestling.
Well, that's all the time we have this week. Don't forget to tune in next week when we sit down with the Kutztown baseball and softball teams. Check out BTL on Facebook at Between the Lines, and for all Kutztown sports, go to kubears.com. Remember, outside the lines, you only get the scores, but here at Between the Lines, we get you inside the locker room.
KUTV on 3. 1, 2, 3. KUTV!